Okay, part two. Yes, she would be 98 years old this Wednesday. Um, she died March 26th of 2019 at 90 years old. She would have been 91 that year. I think she just got tired of living. I wish I knew all the details behind it, but I don't. I know what I was told. But I think she had a moment of realization what was going on, because she was found without her oxygen on. I think she pulled it off. I think she just wanted to go to sleep and not be like that. She had dementia and Alzheimer's. She knew who Karen was. I believe that she knew she was in a hospital, or a care facility rather. Karen told me the last time I talked to her, or when I was in Missouri in March, I don't remember which, that I think it was when I was in Missouri in March. Karen said that she could walk, and I was under the impression she couldn't walk anymore. A couple of years before she died, she said just being inside the wheelchair was easier to get her around. When they took her to the care facility, Karen told me that my mother got out of the car on her own, and she walked right through the doors up to the desk to check in, and she had went to the room that they put her in, the room that she died in. She was there for 9 days. I think during the course of those 9 days, she knew she wasn't going anywhere, that was it. I wish I knew what happened during those 9 days, but I don't. Karen said that she saw my mother the night before she passed away, and she said she was fine. But I think a couple of things. I think maybe she fell because there was, I was told that she had internal bleeding, and they didn't take her to the hospital, and she was under hospice care, I think. They had oxygen on her, but when they found her early in the morning, her oxygen was off of her, and I think she pulled it off. She had told me in 1987 when April was killed, and we were at April's funeral. And April was killed in a car accident when she was 19. She was Ollie's stepdaughter, but he raised her from the time she was 5 years old till 19. My mother told me then that her and Uncle Bud would be buried inside of a crypt. She wouldn't be inside the ground. They would be inside of a mausoleum. She told me during the course of the 4 days before we laid Dad, Ollie, to rest, when it's her time to go, just to let her go. And not to mourn and grieve, and cry for her like I had for Dad. And she wanted me to promise her that, and I told her, don't ask me to promise you that. I can't make that promise to you. Because I know how I'm going to be. The last conversation I had with her in 2011, it was approximately a year after I graduated college. We talked about all kinds of stuff. She thanked me for every conversation, every visit, every memory. The love and respect that I have for her. She didn't have any regrets of me becoming her daughter. And she told me not to grieve for her when I find out that she's passed away. I told her, don't ask that of me, because I can't promise you. I kind of think that through the years, if I was still able to have that physical closeness with her, to be able to physically see her and spend time with her and be there at her bedside when she did die. What I've gone through in the last 6 years, I think would have been worse. A lot worse. But then again, I don't know, because I didn't have that. Because I would have had all those years with her. Seeing her, holding her, her holding me, spending time with her, having conversations with her. But I didn't have that. Karen had told me that it was a relief that she did pass away, because she couldn't really do anything anymore. She couldn't do anything for herself anymore. Not a whole lot. And she said it was a blessing, because I asked her. It kind of gives her comfort, because she's no longer here suffering. And I told her, I said, I can't get past it. I keep trying to get past it, but I'm not past it. Karen said, she goes, it's because how things ended with me and our mother. She probably didn't know or realize at the time, when she made that commitment to me, what the years would be entailed. She didn't know at the time that my uncle would have forbid her to ever see me again or have a relationship with me. For years, or the first couple of years even, our conversations on the phone were monitored by him. And she'd remind me from time to time, Uncle Bud's right here. I just want you to know that. That was a cue to me to watch what I say. And I couldn't tell her what I wanted to tell her. I couldn't have conversation with her what I wanted to have about. Because Uncle Bud monitored our phone conversation. He could hear word for word what she said and what I was saying. So I had to be careful and choose my words and conversation And it wasn't fair. And then, in the early 2000s, he ended the conversations. I wasn't allowed to call. She wasn't allowed to talk to me. So how we got around that was when Tony and I would go to Oregon to see Uncle Tom about 5 times a year, 5 times a year. That was the only time I was allowed to talk to her. Because Uncle Tom would call her and she'd say, put her on the phone. Because Uncle Bud wasn't around her when he called. There was a few times that I called her myself. When we had T-Mobile, they had T-Mobile. One time me and Tony were on days off when we were managers for a resort in Northern California. And she said, darling, what's wrong? She goes, are you and Tony up at Uncle Tom's? I'm like, no ma'am, we're not. Well, she didn't think so because it was like in July and we were up at the lake. We were just on days off. We're on a pontoon out on the lake. And she said, you know you're not supposed to be calling me unless you're at Uncle Tom's. And I told her I was sorry, I love you, and I miss you. I said, that's why I'm calling. And I'd start to cry. Every phone call, pretty much in the 2000s, early 2000s to mid 2000s, every time I talked to her, I cried. Begging and pleading to see her. The pain just never went away. It just stayed buried. Not being able to reveal anything, not being able to talk about anything. Until she was no longer here. And that's when I started talking. And I haven't shut up since. I just don't do these videos as much as I did because I have a therapist to talk to. Trying to keep me stable. Today I am not stable. Keep me balanced. I suppose every single month has some type of memory in it. But besides May being a big memory month, anniversary dates, August is too. Because it was in July when I first started seeing her. And I'd cry every single time they left our motel. And the one time she came back for me because I was crying. They left the parking lot, got down to the corner of the street, and they turned around and came back. And she came for me to take me with them for a couple of days. Asked Tony if it was okay, if he cared. And Anna took me up to Thousand Trails in Pio Pico, or at Pio Pico. And it was in August of 1986 was when I asked her to adopt me. Because it was only a few weeks, maybe a month went by when I think it was only a couple of weeks when in July when she asked me to have a mother and daughter relationship with her. And it was this time period when she found out all the stories about me, everything there was to know about me, and I mean everything, from the time I was born to the present of that day. how I was as a child, who I played with, what schools I went to, what kind of grades did I get in school, who my friends were, what did I do as a kid, what did I play with, stuff like that. High school, boyfriends, dates, pick something. She knew it. She knew all my entire life. And my brother was there, and we started telling her the bad stuff that we did, the bad stuff I did, the mischievous behaviors, the illegal activity, as I called them, because technically they were illegal. And she was just like in shock. She knew everything about my teenage life, my upbringing, my biological family, stuff that they did, how they were, how I felt towards them, etc. And she had said, outside of your brother Mike, and they knew Mike, you didn't have a relationship with anybody. You weren't bonded and close to anybody. And she was right. I wasn't. She was it. She was the one. I'm glad for it. I am who I am because of her. She taught me, I'll have to do that some other time, she taught me a bunch of stuff. And I said this in other videos in the past years. The job that I do, without her changing me, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would not be who I am today without her, and I know it. I know the girl I was. I knew the girl I was at 19 when I met her. And that's why I asked her to change me, to take me under your wing, re-raise me, as Aunt Rose put it, or rear. She needs to be reared, and she needs to be reared Southern, my Aunt Rose said. And I was. No regrets of any of it. I never feared her. Never once did I fear her. I say it like that is because she disciplined me. And no one likes that part. It's not something that's a fun subject to talk about. It's not something that's enjoyable or even gives me pleasure to mention. But it did happen. I don't blame her, actually. There's a bunch of crap that happened that I don't understand, that I will not talk about openly. I will to my therapist. She will be the only one. But I had a good relationship with her, a very close relationship with her, and I have never had that type of relationship with anybody, ever. No friend, no relative, no one. It was her. I was extremely attached to her. And I fought so hard to try to see her. And I said, I snuck to see her. I say that like that because she didn't know I was going to do it. This one time I drove to Thousand Trails. That was before Tony and I got remarried. It was before I attempted suicide. And I was going to drive right through the damn gate, but the guard stopped me. And I said, they're here. I don't know what space they're in. Tell her to come. I'll wait. I waited. I was hoping it would just be her, but it wasn't. My uncle drove her up to the gate. And she got out of the car, got me, walked me over to a picnic table that was there, and talked to me for a few minutes. Gave me a hug and kiss. And I walked back to Joanne's car. That's when they were in Palm Springs. Yeah. The only other time I saw her was a glimpse. We were on our way to Uncle Tom's. We were about 15, 20 minutes away from Uncle Tom's house, and we passed them like this on the road. And comes an RV, and Tony's like, "That looks like Uncle Bud and Aunt Marie's RV." And I yelled, "Stop!" They had seen us. Tony honked. He was pulling over. I jumped out of our van and took off running towards him. They pulled over to Uncle Bud was driving. They pulled over to the side of the road. And I had crossed over the street and was running towards her. They apparently had seen Tony and Tipper coming. I had just almost got to the back of the RV where I could reach out and touch it, and it takes off. And I just stand there screaming, waving my arms around like this. "Stop, stop, come back, come back." I didn't see her, but she saw me from the mirror. The rear, not the rear view mirror, but the side mirror. They had extended, long, wide mirrors on the sides. They had those specially ordered after they bought that RV in '86. And she saw me. And I just stood there and watched that RV until I couldn't see it no more. We drove to Uncle Tom's. I saw where the RV was parked. Uncle Tom, I had him call her. She told me she wasn't coming. They weren't going to turn around. They were on their way to Uncle Bill's. They'd already been there for a few days. And I said, "Didn't you know me and Tony were on our way?" And she said yes. "Why didn't you stay and wait?" I didn't get any answer. Well, she couldn't answer me because Uncle Bud wouldn't let her see me. That's why they left. Before they left that day, we had called. Uncle Tom wanted to know our whereabouts. So we told him how, we're on our way and we're coming up and this is where we're at. And he said, "You kids should stop over and in Mount Shasta and see the Mount Shasta Caverns." Well, we did do that because it delayed 3 hours because we had left pretty early. It delayed us 3 hours because it delayed them 3 hours from leaving because they weren't quite ready to leave Uncle Tom's. We were persuaded to stall getting there because if we didn't, I would have saw her. Uncle Tom knew what kinds of problems it would have caused with Uncle Bud. He didn't want that. But I got off the phone with her and I was crying. I was beyond crying. I was welling. And gave Uncle Tom the phone and I ran off behind this big shed that was there on the property. And I was crying and crying and crying, and I remember hearing Tony say to Tipper, "Go find mommy, go find mommy." And I had my head buried inside my hands on my knees because I was sitting on a stoop from a tree. And Tipper came over there and put his head up underneath my arms and popped them open like that so he could get to my face. And Uncle Tom grabbed a hold of me and said, "Come here." And I said, "I don't want her. I don't want her. I don't want my mother anymore. I don't want Aunt Marie. I don't want nothing to do with my adopted mother. I hate her. I hate her." And I was screaming. Uncle Tom grabbed a hold of my arms and he goes, "Don't you ever let me hear you say that again. You don't hate her. You're upset and you're hurt." And I said, "I don't want her. I don't want her. She doesn't love me anymore. She doesn't want me. She doesn't want me." And he said, "That's not true. There's things that you don't understand." I wish I had those things that I didn't understand explained to me. And he said, don't ever say that about her again. Don't let me hear you say that again." And he told me if I did, he'd whip me. He probably would have. I'd been whipped by Uncle Tom. After a while, a couple of hours went by. They were at Uncle Bill's. Might have been the next day. I called, or Uncle Tom called her, and he put me on the phone with her. I told her I was sorry for getting mad at her, and she didn't know I was mad at her and what happened, and I told her what happened. She understood that I was hurt. She says, "How do you feel now?" And I'm like, "I didn't mean what I said. I love you. Just mad because you didn't stop." And I asked her, I said, "Didn't you see me running towards the RV?" And she said, "That's why we pulled over to the side of the road." She goes, "Because I thought you were going to get hit by a car, and I yelled at Uncle Bud and told him to pull over. She's going to get hit by a car." Because when I crossed over the road, it was a 2-lane. There was cars coming in both directions, and I wasn't paying attention. And she said, "You almost got hit by a car." And then she would have blamed herself for that and yelled at me and told me, well, not yelled, she raised her voice, scolded me and said, "Don't ever do that again." Yeah. I was stubborn. But she said that she wouldn't come back. She had already visited Uncle Tom and Dana. Dana was his lady friend. They were not married ever. And now her time was there with Uncle Bill and Aunt Maxine. And I asked her, how long were they going to stay there for? A couple of days. "You enjoy your time with Uncle Tom, and I'm glad that you get to spend time with him and see him." That's all I had. Because I couldn't see anybody else. We did stop and see Uncle Bill and Aunt Maxine. And when Tony took Tipper out to go to the bathroom, Uncle Bill had asked me, I have a question for you. Why didn't you come to us? Why didn't you come to me and ask to be adopted by us? I told him, I said, well, at the time, I didn't know you guys very well. I mean, I was 21. I met you when I was 19. I was very close to her immediately. I doubt I would have asked anybody else. It was her. I told him, no offense. You're my uncle. I love you as my uncle. Aunt Maxine, I love you as my aunt. You're my aunt. And she said, I would have loved to have a daughter. I always wanted to have a daughter. And they told me they would have been good to me. And I don't doubt that. But he also, my Uncle Bill also told me, he goes, we would not have treated you the way you were treated. So when I did stupid stuff and said stupid stuff, I guess you wouldn't have disciplined me then. I go, you guys do know about that, right? Because she did discipline me in front of them a couple of times. About 4 or 5 times, in fact. I have to think there for a second. And I know each time. He said they wouldn't have. You would have got a talking to. Yeah, I got those too. He goes, we wouldn't have abandoned you. And that's one thing he did not like. Neither did my Uncle Tom. Didn't like it at all. I would assume Uncle Wayne too probably didn't like it. But I know Uncle Tom and Uncle Bill did not. And Uncle Bill told me. He was very vocal about it. He didn't think it was fair to me. I didn't think it was fair either. And I said, why? Can't you tell me why? And he's the one who told me first it was Uncle Bud. It's him. He won't let her see you. He controls her. He controls everything she does. And I was 40, 41. Or not quite 41, I was 40, I believe. Yeah, because it was in 2005. I was 40. And I said, why? Jealousy. He didn't want her being around anybody. Didn't like it. You were close to her. He didn't like that. It's funny. It's been 6 years. And when my depression started 6 years ago, my mind was very clouded. It had the memories. It knew the memories. But there was a lot of stuff I didn't understand. I couldn't, at the time, because my depression was so deep and dark, I couldn't piece things together. And now I can. And everything is crystal clear. That I am glad for. I wish it was 6 years ago like that, but it was not. And I know it wasn't, and if I go back and listen to videos that I did 6 years ago, I can tell by listening to what I'm saying that the stories there, and they're true, the things that happened, the things that were said, but there's pieces missing. It's like a puzzle. You take a puzzle out of the box and you start putting it together, and you're missing all the different pieces that make the picture. And that's basically how it is. Those videos are. Some of the videos I'm crying in, I remember. And I'm trying so hard to remember what happened, what was said, how come this happened, how come that happened, why, was my questions. Well, I clearly know why. Do I understand it? No. But I know the reasons why, and those are the questions I kept asking for the first 2 years. Why? How come? How come I can't figure it out? How come I can't remember it? I think my depression was so deep that I just couldn't. now I can. My therapist asked me, do you know why? And I said, yeah, I do. I know the reasons. I do know the reasons. And I can't say them openly. I don't agree with the reasons. I had told her one time, I understand, but I don't agree with you, which had to do with telling Rita and Karen that I'm your daughter. I told her, I don't agree with you. I think it's wrong. It's not fair. It wasn't fair to me. I wanted sisters. Then a couple, 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I find out I have a biological sister. But she told me, it's not important that you agree with me. What's important is you understand my reasons on why I won't tell them. I understood you didn't want to hurt anybody. I understand that, they wouldn't accept me, or they wouldn't accept what you did. You gave birth to them. Why, like Rita said to me when I told her, my mother had 2 daughters, gave birth to 2 daughters. Why did she feel the need to have another one? Well, she didn't give birth to me, Rita. She said, why did she have the need to have you? I knew the answer. I didn't tell her. I couldn't tell her. I mean, I could have, and it would have pissed her off, and she wouldn't believe me anyway. That's irrelevant. Why is that 30 minutes? Counting. And I told Rita, I said, how am I supposed to know? I said, I can't go unbury her, I said, and resurrect her to life and ask her, hey, Aunt Marie, how come you adopted me and I became your daughter? What's the reason behind that? I already knew the reason. I couldn't tell Rita. I wouldn't have, because I don't want to make anybody mad, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Same reason that my mother wouldn't tell them. She was going to tell them at one point when I was 24, and took me into the RV and told me that when she goes back to Missouri, she's going to sit Rita and Karen down and explain everything to them, and she's going to tell them about me, and let the cards fall where they do. And I was like really excited. I said, good. I said, after that happens, I said, will you take me over the road with you so I can go to Missouri and meet Karen? Because I always wanted to meet Karen. Rita I'd already met twice. I didn't care for Rita. So whoever watches this, that's members of the family, sorry, I didn't like Rita. Not the 2 times that I met her. Once when I was 19, didn't like her. Once when I was 22, no, I was 21. Wasn't 22 yet. I didn't like her. Didn't like her attitude, didn't like her personality. I didn't like how she thought that she was all of that and the most important thing in the family. I didn't like on how she barged into the RV, sat down while me and my mother were having a private conversation, and wouldn't leave. My mother had to ask her politely, Rita, I'm sorry, but I'm having a private conversation with Teresa. I'm helping her get through some problems that she's going through. Would you mind excusing yourself so we can finish our conversation? Please. Rita felt appalled by she saying that. How dare that her mother, making her leave the RV, because Rita just barged right in, sat right down and started talking to my mother and kept looking me over. And it wasn't a kind look where she was sizing me up and down. I never said a word to her when she came into the RV. It actually pissed me off. I was trying, and I thought, oh yeah, great. Here we're having this conversation about, I remember what it was about. And she comes in and now she's stealing my time away. And I got mad. I was mad about it. I didn't react to it, though. Rita was disgruntled. As she put it, got up and stood there for a moment and looked at me and going, so why are you so important? All I am is Tony's wife. She left. My mother looked at me and she says, darling, she goes, I'm sorry for the intrusion. We can continue our conversation. So I didn't ever like Rita. I always heard nice things about Karen. I never heard one nice thing about Rita out of my mother's lips. Ever. On the phone and in person. Never. And she told me, I don't ever want you to see her. I don't ever want you to talk to her. Don't call her house. Don't send me letters and cards to her house. You send them to Karen. When I'm over the road and you need to get a hold of me, she goes, you call Karen. I did have to call Rita's house a couple of times because my mother wasn't at Karen's house. She was at Rita's house. So I had to call over there and I wasn't on the phone very long. And I just said, darling, what's wrong? When you go to Karen's, I said, would you please call me? This is where I'm at. And she would. Because she couldn't talk to me in front of Rita, and Rita would be right there. So I don't like the woman. Didn't like her. She died. Sorry that she died. I'm sorry for her children and her grandchildren that they no longer have her. But I don't have to like her. Love Karen. Didn't like Rita. So with that rant, I kind of forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, about, telling them. So regardless of my feelings towards Rita, and I did talk to her on the phone for about 3 hours when I found out that my mother passed away. Because I wanted to know what happened. And of course I heard 2 different stories. I thought, okay, I'll give the woman a chance. I'll give her an opportunity to get to know me. Would text her. I only talked to her on the phone that one time. I think she befriended me just to try to get information out of me because she turned on me quickly. I had started talking to her in August of 2020. By the time end of September rolled around, it was maybe 6 weeks had went by. Bam! Slam dunk. Didn't want nothing to do with me because she did not like what I said. How dare I? How dare I make a video and say that my mother plucked my eyebrows? I got slapped by her on my bare skin because I messed up her hair. All that happened. I have no freaking reason to lie about anything I've ever said. And I was laughing in that video. It's about a 17 or 25 minute video. I think it's 17 minutes. It's not very long. And, she didn't like it. How dare I say that? How dare I say in 2005, when I turned 40, they went to Mexico and picked up a car and dropped it off in Texas and argued with me over the phone. That never happened. Oh yeah, it did happen. Had a conversation with her, and her and I got into an argument because she provoked the damn argument on purpose to piss me off, and I got hurt. She got off the phone with me. That happened. Oh, how dare I say that? How dare I say that, You know, when I was 24, the aunt said stuff to me that my mother supposedly said. It hurt me. It pissed me off. And I took off. And long story short, the police were called. She spanked me in the driveway. She really did that. Got me into the RV and she spanked me again. But she in the driveway, the whole entire family was out there because I was missing for 2 hours. And Aunt Noreen called the police. And the police did come out to the house. Aunt Noreen's house in Norwalk. But as soon as she got me back into the RV because she wanted to know what was said to make me act that way and to take off and worry her. And she literally thought I was dead. Literally. Got into the RV, leaned me over and spanked me. And questioned me. Who said what to you? Blah, blah, blah. The police came out. A report was made. My cousin, Daryl, who was a cop, says, oh, the police wouldn't have come out. So I imagined a black and white car pulling inside Aunt Noreen's driveway. I mean, I didn't see him drive there. We were in the RV talking, and Uncle Tom's the one who came to the door, the RV door, and she got up and answered it. He goes, the police are here. They need to talk to you. And I was in the RV, and she went out and talked to him. Then it was maybe a minute. Uncle Tom came inside the RV, and he said they need to talk. That the police officer needs to talk to you. I came out of the RV, down the little stairs, black and white car, cop car, in the driveway. It was a young black officer, thin, in a black uniform. You know, cop clothes. My mother was over by the car door, the cop car door. You know, talking to her, she was giving him a statement. And the officer looked at me and he said, can you state your name? You know, tell me your name. My name's Teresa. Teresa what? Teresa Waltman. Do you have a middle name? Marie. Teresa Marie Waltman. Can you identify who these people are? Well, my mother was standing by the officer. Ollie came over to the car. And I was pointing on who everybody was. When my mother said, he goes, ma'am, he goes, you know, your name, and Anna was writing it down. What's the relationship to her, are you? And she looked at me and she looked at the officer, and the family was there on the driveway. Family that didn't know who I was. And she looked at the officer and she says, I'm her mother. And he looked at me, he goes, ma'am, he goes, I was like, call me a ma'am. I was like 24? I guess I'm technically a ma'am, but, and I said, yes. I said, she's my mother. I pointed to Ollie. I said, he's my dad, my father-in-law. Uncles, whoever else was on the driveway, I pointed to and said, this is who they are. Asked me what happened. I said, I was upset about something that was said to me. I said, I took off, and I'm the one who hid. So I did a video about all of that. I went into detail, and that's another video that Rita watched. How dare I say that? How dare you say my mom, my mother, as she put it, in big capital letters, that you painted her out to be a monster. I didn't paint her out to be a monster. She was pissed. She was pissed off because I left. I took off. She was frantic. I'll use that word. That's Uncle Bud's word towards me. Aunt Marie's frantic. She doesn't know where she thinks you're dead. She really thought I was dead. I had her scared to death. When they told her they found me and I was on the driveway, she barreled out of Aunt Noreen's screen door and grabbed hold of me. My uncles twice had to pull her off of me because she was squeezing me so damn hard, it literally was cutting off the circulation. I could not breathe. I mean, she was squeezing me that hard. And then she'd grab a hold of me and she shook me. She put her hands on both sides of my, shoulders and was shaking me like this. She's done that like 2 or 3 times in my lifetime. But that was the first time. And you're okay. Okay. Let me look at you. They hurt you. Tell me what they did. Like I said, she was convinced that I was kidnapped. I was taken. Now the kidnappers decided to bring me back or I escaped. That was in her mind. So she had every right on the circumstances involved to be pissed, hurt, upset, worried, frantic, as my Uncle Bud put it to me. Frantic. You have her frantic. She thinks, and then she told me that I thought you were kidnapped. I was convinced that you were kidnapped in a field somewhere, that you were raped, tortured, and killed, and left inside of a field somewhere, and I was never going to see you alive again. That's what she told me. So I did this whole entire gigantic video of it, and it pissed Rita off. Really? Why? Oh, because I made it up. I didn't make it up. God, I write stories. There is no way on the face of this planet, on anything I have ever said, and I can say it and say it and say it, and I've said that in videos too, I couldn't make this up. I couldn't make any of it up. Ever. I can write. I have a good imagination, but I can't remember what I wrote. I can't remember my stories. I can remember pieces of the story, but I can't remember, verbatim stuff that happened, that took place, that I did, or what I said, or what somebody else said, or different other actions or expressions and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I know that verbatim. If I was lying, I wouldn't be able to do that. I would not be able to repeat it. So Rita had a disdain, I'll put it like that, towards me because of videos that I made, that I posted on YouTube, that she would watch. She subscribed to my channel. Karen subscribed to my channel. And Rita told me to watch what I say. Why? If it bothers you, don't listen to it. If anything I say in a video, if it bothers you, why are you listening to it? That's kind of stupid. What, you just want to see what I have to say? Or if I'm going to repeat it, or if I'm not going to repeat it, or if I'm going to change the story's not going to change. I'm in fact going to start from the beginning again, and I'm going to go forward. Because when I started all those 6 years ago, my brain was jumpy. And I want to finish my autobiography too. I want to start working on it again. I've been rather busy in the last 12 months. Actually a couple of years. And so things are dying down, and I can get back to it. I need to actually take pictures of the pictures in the photo album so I can give those photo albums back to Tony. He'll be glad to get those photo albums back. I've had them for it'll be 2 years. It's probably already 2 years. But I need to return them. So I need to take time out to do that gradually and take pictures of them so I can have my own pictures, so those pictures can be inside my autobiography. But see, me talking things out, it helps clear my brain. It helps release me being upset. I was upset when I started the first video, which didn't last very long. And then this one, I'm almost 55 minutes into this one. It helps. So it's hot. My car shut off and I need air. So anyway, that's it for now. And like I said, I'm going to go back to the beginning of when my life with Tony started, and then with the Waltmans, and I'm going to move forward with it. And I'm going to try to cover every idle detail. And some won't be pleasant, but it is my life with the family. It is the stuff that did happen with the family. Some things I might block out because I can't openly say it. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.